Hey there, everybody. It's Wayne D. Welcome to the website, WayneD.com. We're looking at probably the most interesting player to come along in a little bit. He's been around for a while, Alex Noren, and everyone's kind of wondering what in the world is he up to with his rehearsal. So we know we want to do whatever he's doing because he hit the ball way better than anybody in that event. Kisner sort of escaped that match. Noren's putter went ice cold, and then he kind of goofed it up in the playoff. But let's take a look. So on the left, this was the only shot I got. I got the last three holes of his match with Kisner on tape. So this was the only shot I had. But it's a really great shot of him from the front working on this. So in my mind, he's simply doing an exaggerated forward lean with the right arm, the focus being the right arm moving forward and the hands hitting the ball with as much forward lean as he can get, given that they're going to go around because the left arm is going to stay attached to the body. So this is an exaggeration, and he would do it over and over again on each shot. So you can see when he does it, he moves forward, and his left shoulder stays very low, obviously to get that left arm down. If you're going to get that right arm in front, if your left arm comes unattached to the body, then you'll end up driving the club more down the line. So if you look at the legs, he's got the left knee holding, and then he keeps it out there bent. So let's take a look from behind. When we look at his full swing, he gets fairly upright, vertical with the left arm, and in his real swing, the grip will actually come back a little bit, so he'll drop his hands a touch. But in the rehearsal, you're going to see the grip move directly outward. Now you would think this would be a dead over the top move, but what he's going to do is he's going to overdrive the right arm in front of him, and he's going to lean the shaft back right in this area. Now this is where most people would just tip the shaft over, but watch what he does with it. So right now, that right arm, you can't really physically bury it in front of your rib cages more than he's doing. And watch how he keeps the club up in the air the whole time. Now it's going to take that much twist in the legs to pull the left arm around, and he's got to hold that club back. So let's watch that again. Now we'll see where he goes past it a little bit. So obviously, if you look where that is, that's going to be right on plane with the right arm well in front. Look how open the hips are, and you can see how open the upper body is as well, although it's definitely trailing and not as open as the hips. And as he goes by, he'll hold the club face open so he's not aggressively turning down at this point past the ball. All right, so let's check the shot out here. So you can see he sets up a little open, And as the announcers were saying, he favors the left to right type action, but it's not really, not a lot. So here's the swing. It'll go out in front of him a little bit. So notice how he pretty much keeps the club on plane to his body lines. Left wrist fairly flat. There's the little reverse move right there. So that's what I'm seeing, most of the time when you see players that get a fairly vertical left arm, it's not uncommon to see the grip fall back a little bit. Just the whether or not that's going to get it, the right arm stuck, obviously depends on what the right arm is doing. And when you watch his right arm, you can see it's pretty much staying externally rotated in here and not really getting behind him at all. So that's really good control of the arm. And then when he comes in, just like he was rehearsing, look at that right elbow and look at the path that the elbow takes there. So nothing is really going down as far as the upper arm goes. And now he's got that sucker buried in there. So that's pretty cool. Let's watch that shot regular speed here. So one of my good friends was watching him at the Honda just hit balls, and he said the sound was much different than the other guys. He was really hitting the ball amazingly well. So here's another picture of that rehearsal. So again, if you ask me, it's this right arm idea. Now remember, the left wrist was pretty flat at the top, so he doesn't have to turn it down too much. But you can see there, if you watch his hands right here, so this is a full release. You look at the right wrist has flattened there from where it was massively bent at impact. He'll just take it across his chest. So this was a really good shot. He smacked this right up in front of the green. So he's got a fairly long swing, full I would call it, in the backswing. Longer than most. Like you won't see too many players these days taking it back that far. Now you can see the grip. The grip is not strong at all because the wrist is fairly flat and the club face is not facing the sky. So when the edge of the club is a little bit more angled than the wrist, then the grip is a little weak to neutral. But there's a beautiful approach. So if we take a look at the hip movement here, pretty standard. He gets a little straight with that right leg. He holds that left knee out pretty good. And then in the forward swing, the big key is he maintains that crunch, anterior pelvic tilt, creates room for that right arm. So practicing that right arm coming way in front of you is actually suggestive of, how am I going to make space for it? So it has a tendency to help any attempt to keep the hips deep here's another version of. So when I was with my back the way it is, I was trying to do this, or I was trying to feel it and see what it was like. It's very difficult. I mean, look at the amount of, you can just see all the wrinkles in the shirt there. This arm is buried way, way, way in there with the club still up in the air and the face still toe up. Look at the hips. So the left knee is almost facing out at the target. It's just pretty interesting. So, so Faldo called his shot pattern a hold off fade, which with that, it's a lot of Hogan in there. I mean, if you catch pictures of Hogan's right arm, especially when he was a little bit uh, a little bit younger. So again, big full backswing, but the right arm is key. Look where that right arm is. He just controls that shoulder right here. There's no pullback in the shoulder blade. It's always externally rotated. Now he's going to make his move, where the arms are really squeezing together. So you can see that the left arm, especially when he goes back and he does that rehearsal, his left arm is going to be just tied to him really tight. So I always thought that right about here in the Hogan book is where they should have drawn the pictures of all the twine wrapped around Hogan. It should have been the arms attached to the body at piece 6 like this. So this is really cool. So let's watch this shot. So he just kept striping them one after the other. All right, so I thought you'd be interested in what Alex Noren was up to.